right, it's April 9th at 10:02. We're gonna start the policy committee meeting. I want to thank everybody for being here. We'll go right to section B, number 1, policy 218, student discipline. Once my computer opens it. Okay. I read through this and didn't see a whole lot of changes. Is there something I'm missing other than there's an incident change, the term?
I believe that there was a request to bring this policy to the policy committee to look at. And so this wasn't a change brought by PSBA. This was a question that was brought up in a board meeting about our student discipline policy.
I remember what it is now. It was brought to my attention that maybe we're being too lenient on some of the incidents that are happening. And I asked a couple different people about it, and I was told that we could get stiffer on some things.
Okay.
We could have like a 3-strike policy. First time you're in school suspension, X amount of days. Second time could be an out of school suspension. Third time could be an expulsion. And that would only be for something really serious. Like striking a teacher, striking another student. And where do we stand on that? Because I think it, maybe on some instances, we might be being too soft on it.
Okay. Right now, we do have a progressive discipline system so that if a student continues to exhibit the same sort of behavior, then the consequences get more severe over time. It's not exactly 3 strikes for a couple of reasons. One of them is that constrains us in some ways to not be able to work with students and educate them, because that's our purpose, is to educate students. And it certainly is the case that some students demonstrate that they are more destructive to the learning environment for themselves and others than we can help with over time. And those are the students that you see that we bring to you for those that are recommended for expulsion. We also use our AEDY system. AEDY is Alternative Education for Disruptive Youth.
Okay.
Right.
And that's a state, please remind me what that is.
So AEDY is typically it's a 45-day placement that we send students either to River Rock Academy or we send to Nittany Learning Services for 45 days to address some really specific issues that we see in school. It could be from vaping or smoking cessation all the way up to other kind of disruptive incidents, to sometimes even fighting, that we are helping the students understand how their actions are disruptive to their own learning and the learning of others, and creating a bad culture in school, trying to get them to see how behaving in a different way is going to help them out as individuals and learners, help them get to their goals, but also help other people that are around them. And then if they meet those goals within 45 days, they come back, they have a transition plan, they come back in. And for a lot of our students, it helps them out and they change their behavior and become kind of the students that we want them to be in the classrooms. For others, it doesn't. And we follow the progressive discipline that we do through suspensions and that sort of thing. Until for some students, as I said before, they get to the point where we need to just remove them from school altogether.
Okay, so let me ask this, because this is a scenario put to me. I don't like somebody and I go up and threaten them or I punch them. What's the discipline?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. If we could, in a subsequent meeting, I could have principals here so they can talk about the work that they do with students that are involved in those kind of things.
That would be good, because that would be cool to know, because just questions I've been getting. Student hauls off, punches another student. or a teacher or security staff or anybody. They should almost be immediately detained and some serious discipline to follow. And
Yep, and those kind of incidents there is.
okay,
But again, if you want the specifics, then we should schedule a time. I can either ask a group of principals to present here at policy. Or if you want to talk about it with the rest of the board, then we can talk to the board chair about
yeah,
getting something.
it'd
on a
just be
subsequent meeting.
cool to know, because I'm hearing that a lot of kids won't come because they're scared of certain people.
Okay,
So I'd like to be able to curb that and reverse that
Mhm.
scenario.
okay, so we can.
Put those kids that are threatening other kids or that are being abusive, put them in the cyber school and let the cyber school kids know this is a safe spot.
Why don't we arrange something for the next policy meeting?
That'd be cool.
Okay,
That's great.
That'd be great.
And if you feel that I think it'd be beneficial if the whole board, you know, sometime in the future with the principals, if it has to go into executive session or whatever you think, but
Yeah,
I would like it if, yeah,
if we had that chat.
is Tracy coming? I'm sorry, I just meant to ask. We
Don't
need a
know.
Roll call, so.
Well, we never do a roll
Typically
call.
don't.
Oh, that's
for
right,
committees.
but, okay, you're right. Okay, no, her.
All right. That would be nice if we could have them and just talk to them. And if it's something we can't do publicly, then we'll call an executive so that we can get a better understanding.
It's all in our code of conduct for students,
Okay,
kind of what the expected behaviors are and what consequences are. So it's not anything that we couldn't talk about.
Okay.
In a public meeting.
Do you want the security officers here too, or just start with the principals?
well, let's start with the
Okay,
principals.
that sounds good. That's a good idea. Thank
Because
you.
if we can curb it before it has to get to an SRO, then we're better off.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2, policy 625 procurement cards. Elizabeth, this was something you wanted to discuss.
Yes, thank you for your patience and everything. I did send, I'm sorry, my computer's decided to update, so I don't have my access. But what I can say is, when PSBA a few months ago sent the new recommendations for the AR, and then I emailed them out to everyone, did these get on Board Docs?
Not yet. So they're in their review process. The 625 ARs?
The 625.
25s, yeah, 625 AR 0.
That is down at PSBA right now being reviewed. We passed that in the March.
Okay, so that's okay, that's
So
good.
remember, the process is after
Mhm.
we put something into place, then we send it down to PSBA
Right.
so we can look at it, we reformat it, put it in PDF
Mhm.
format, and then we upload it. So it
Does
takes
our
a-
own
Okay.
lawyer look at that, or
Yeah.
do we have to rely on PSBA?
We both typically will have our solicitor. It kind of depends on which sort of thing it is. If there's some legal ramifications in there or something that's might be ambiguous or read differently, then I'll have the solicitor look at it. But it's not necessarily in every case.
Would
Okay,
you like a
So-
copy of the 625?
Oh, I have it I have
The one that we approved.
Oh, it's actually, no, thank you. It's in there somewhere.
Okay.
Okay, so that's still in the process. That's fine. That's all we need was an update. Okay, so then, when we looked at our 625, the last time it was, our policy. Last time it was updated was 2021, okay? And then, this may take a month or two, but this is where I'm going with this. And then feedback and responses and ideas, please. Over the months, I've been looking at the schools. I picked the top 10 schools, Philly, Downington, Wilkesboro, Troy Farian, Radnor, Great Valley, Pittsburgh, Marion, looked at our local school districts, and this is what I found. And this is just my opinion after reading all of their policies. The one that I sent you through email, the Radnor,
Mhm.
did you get it? If you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, it's obvious they've utilized probably the PSBA format, but it really, I feel it has really done a good job at being simplified, self-explanatory, and a little more defined than what ours currently is. Now, the whole reason why I'm bringing this up was for further conversation. And not that I want to look backwards, okay? I want to move forwards and to hit a reset button on 625. I believe under authority, the third line or paragraph, the board shall approve the list of employees authorized to use the district procurement cards. To the best of my knowledge, whether or not it's occurred recently is not where I want to go. But where I want to go is, I want you folks to please pick a month. Think about a month that we'll put it back into our policy, so it's not just sort of hanging there. Let's, whatever is best for you, when the board approves who has the list of employees, whether it's March, October. So if you could come back to us and let us know what month you want, and then we can just start from there.
We thought about that.
Right.
And what my idea would be to have it either mostly in May
Okay,
or June, to approve it for the following year.
okay. So,
And then the new policy that's on there right now does have, the board shall annually approve the list of employees. The updated policy that's on the agenda.
right, so if you want to, whatever you folks decide to insert, whether it's May or June, and then we'll find out next month.
Mhm.
That would be super terrific.
We can do it May. I mean, we can just solidify that and just say, then at the May board meeting, we'll have the list of employees who currently have procurement cards,
Okay,
credit cards.
that'd be great, just to moving forward. And then under the Radnor one, if you had a chance to look at it under guidelines, and I don't want to piecemeal this all right now, but I just want to give you an idea of where the concept is going. Their delegation, well, let's start with delegation of responsibility. Ours is 1, 2, 3, 4 different, I'll use the word paragraphs. Now, the Radnor one, which was updated May 2024, just has one sentence. It just says the superintendent or designee shall be responsible for determining which district employees are authorized to use the procurement cards and for developing, distributing, and implementing procedures governing their use to safeguard misuse. But when you look at ours, there's 4 different bullets there. And if you want to keep the same, all the 4 bullets, but I think this would just maybe simplify it for you, Dr. Redmond, and then you can just.
Joni and I can certainly spend some time looking at that and seeing if it would be helpful for us to make that change.
Okay,
Well, farther down under the guidelines, under number 4, the supervisor reviews the statement and signs approval is crossed out. And now it's the business manager or fiscal operations supervisor reviews the statement and signs payment approval. So that means Joni or Christie has to go through that, look at it and approve it.
oh, yeah,
So,
We currently do that.
yeah,
Christie currently oversees the whole statement.
good.
yep. So then when we go back to the guidelines under Radnor, I would really, it might be helpful if you folks, take a look at the Radnor one and look at their guidelines and then compare it to our guidelines. There are some similarities there, but it also is, well, it's updated. And it gives very specific items versus ours, which is not bad, but.
So one of the things I didn't like about that,
Okay,
I'm
please.
thinking you're looking at the sections you have bracketed towards the bottom of that policy. It says the following list includes but is not limited to items authorized for purchase without obtaining bids or quotes by employees using procurement cards. We ask for most things to have prior approval for purchases, especially on the credit cards. And this almost seems to circumvent that to some extent. And I would rather have our process in place where we have this sort of pre-approval before we use the credit cards.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for is feedback. And then, obviously, one of the most, even though it's in the legislation, they put it actually in the policy. In the second to last section in the Radnor. I mean, it goes without saying, but I like the fact that they put it in there. Procurement cards shall not be used to circumvent the required bidding process.
I think our limits on the cards are far below. what
Right,
we
but
could-
it's-
Before we could even get to the bidding process, so they couldn't, no one could even run the card for something that we would have to send out bids for.
Sure, but this is the things, this is where I'm sort of thinking, and it could be way off balance, because you folks are the ones who are in charge of this, so you know. Is there a possibility that with limiting the number of people that have access to the procurement cards?
Which we do.
Right, I'm just here. And also for looking at what one of these says is that before anyone uses a procurement card, except for food services and emergency purposes only, it has to go through the business office first. And that's,
Again, that's what we do.
well, is that in the policy though? That's why I'm just saying, if it's there in the
I
policy.
think it might be in our AR, but I'm not sure about that.
Well, that's why, if you could just make a, and come back to us next month with your ideas. But
I know that it goes to the I know that it goes to the supervisor level. I don't know that we have everything running through the business office.
We don't. We don't
Okay.
have everything.
Until after.
Yeah.
The
to-
purchase
right.
is
But
made,
it is
then it comes to
absolutely
the
at a
business
director
office.
and supervisor level.
Yeah.
It has to be
Mhm.
pre-approved on a form signed
sure,
by a supervisor, knowing it's budgeted item, and prior to them even getting the card.
no, I think that's great, it's just that the idea is the number of transactions for procurement card, if they continually go down and contracts and proposals keep going up, that might, this is just, if you wanted something like that in the policy somewhere. So the amount of labor, time, I don't know how much, it's not my business. I don't know how much time you spend on all of these procurement card purchases. Is it just a minimal thing that doesn't take a lot of time for you, or is it, I mean, I don't need to know the answer to this. It's
That's
not my,
okay. Typically, what people use the credit cards for are for conferences and travel, which again are pre-approved expenses. They might need it to go to Walmart because Walmart won't accept a purchase order.
sure, of course.
And Weiss, but we even have a Weiss card now, and we put things on account. So where we can put things on account, like Weiss and Lowe's, again, all pre-approved, we don't put on credit cards. So we use credit cards very minimally. We want things in our system under a purchase order. And,
Of course.
and we can do that through the credit cards, but we don't allow purchases to be put on credit cards that can
Absolutely.
require a purchase order. There are some companies online, when you order certain items online, I know that special ed sometimes runs into a purchase online that they won't take a purchase order. So that gets pre-approved through a credit card, but there is minimal use of the credit card,
Okay.
except for food service. They do
Well, that's
use
a
it.
separate animal, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Is all the Amazon purchases on a procurement card?
No, that's through an Amazon account.
Okay,
So we have an own account set up with Amazon.
Okay.
That is not put on a procurement card.
do we get points back on them or,
We do.
and where does that go?
That it goes in the general fund. If it is anything grant related, we will put it back towards the grant. But again, we don't purchase those types of things on a credit card. Anything
Right.
that is over the threshold for bidding, anything like that would not be put on the credit card.
Okay. Cause I had two questions for you, which is why
Mhm.
Dr. Redmond asked you to come. Is there a spending limit on
Absolutely.
the cards?
Each card has its own limit.
Okay. And, do the cards accrue points, cash back, mileage rewards, any of that?
It's like a rebate
Yep.
type.
Yeah, the school district once a year gets a rebate from First National Bank.
Okay,
So we apply it. Typically, these are supplies of some type or conferences or travel, and we'll apply it back to that expense account.
okay. But one question I had way back when I asked about separating some of the bills out, and you two are doing a good job with that, listing it under each individual school.
Mhm.
But on the bills to payment list, like the first 3 pages could be all Amazon purchases.
Mhm.
who makes them and where do they go? Cause they're not broke out to the schools.
So typically that's through curriculum and special ed. It's typically
Okay.
runs through their budgets. And again, that's approved by Liz and by Megan. And a great portion of that, and I don't want to speak out of turn, is title. We spend a lot of title funds on resources, books, obviously with reading.
Okay.
Being the fundamental title expense.
Yeah, and we wouldn't, typically when we do things like that, it's cheaper, it's more cost effective to buy in bigger quantities. So we don't break it out by school. We don't say Robb Elementary is this dollar amount. We get for however many kids we have per grade level or per
And then
whatever
divide.
we're doing, and we
Right.
just hand it out
Sure,
that way.
makes sense.
I can
So-
understand that. I was just curious, like, you see a lot of cameras and stuff. How do you keep track of all that?
Again, those purchases aren't made on the credit card. Those
Yeah,
are
Okay.
all
Yeah.
purchase order driven,
Okay,
which could, that's a whole different entire approval process, but that goes through the Alio system with an approval chain. Sometimes it can need five approvals. If someone technology puts one in, it goes through the technology, Ed, the supervisor, Megan, then it goes to the purchasing secretary, then at the end of the line is myself that approves everything. So we have quite a strong.
but do we
approval
keep
system.
track of where that equipment goes to what school or what person?
That would be through
So that we would
technology.
all know?
Yeah, there's an inventory of all
Okay,
equipment.
Mhm.
all right,
And that's
that was,
updated annually at least.
that was my questions on that.
Okay, well, I thank you very much. I mean, I think maybe next month come back with those couple of things and I'll see where you want to land with this as far as taking it, what you want to take out of the Radnor one and possibly, we'll edit the current one that we have. But then we'll, do you want to do a trial run with the procurement, even though the policy won't be done until next month, probably the final draft? But do you want to do a trial run for May's meeting, the list of people for the board?
Absolutely. we can do
Oh,
that.
and if it works, if you have enough time, so we can
Mhm.
just get back to what the policy says, at least there, knowing that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay, well, I look forward to the next draft and thank you. Very good.
All right, next one on the list is number 3, policy 815.1. Use of generative artificial intelligence in education. Dr. Redmond, I think this kind of falls in your lap.
Well, actually, I'm gonna defer to Megan and her team. So Megan oversees our technology department, as well as curriculum and innovation. And so the use of generative AI is very much a curriculum and instruction sort of thing that sort of filters through technology. So Megan, I know you and your team have been working on looking at that policy and figuring out the changes that you see in here from the PSBA policy. But Megan, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so PSBA recently put out a draft of this policy, which is definitely needed at this point in time. And some of our staff teachers have been asking for a pretty clear policy on how we use AI in the classroom and within our system. So we have we've gotten a lot of feedback on this policy. We've sent it to all of our department leaders, all of our building principals. And we did make a few changes to the draft from PSBA, and you can see those in here.
Leave the
Two
ones-
big ones I want to highlight is just on page, I wish these pages were actually numbered.
Yes.
Under definitions, it starts that next page with AI literacy at the top. You see where I'm at?
Yeah,
At the bottom of that page, we crossed out a section because the PSBA policy had that we would keep a list of an exhaustive list of approved AI tools by the district.
I understand that.
And we felt the same way, Elizabeth, because, we kind of just kept saying, listen, by noon, that list could be inaccurate because of the way that tools are being utilized and created and changed, bought by each other, sold, all that. So what we didn't want to do was pigeonhole our teachers and or our students by having sort of a, whitelisted group of tools, because again, it's just going to be impossible to keep up with, and we don't want to
Mhm.
put anybody in that situation. So instead, we decided to provide some level of oversight of what teachers are using with kids, by putting that blurb in there about that staff shall consult with department leaders, instructional coaches, building principals before using generative AI to ensure compliance with student data privacy laws. So what we're going to be asking our teachers is if you are using generative AI with kids, that you are consulting with somebody else about that prior to use.
A checks and balances.
Yeah.
So no one gets
Right.
slammed.
Yeah, and that's really to protect our teachers. We don't want them to be in a situation where they find some great new tool and they use it tomorrow, and then it turns out that there were privacy issues.
Mhm.
So, so that was the first change that we made. And everybody seemed to be in agreement with why we did that and why we wouldn't want to keep a approved list. And then the second part revolves around staff training for using AI. So let me find what page that's on. It's under the guidelines.
Mhm.
That staff utilizing AI will participate in professional learning that addresses the effective and safe integration of generative AI into the classroom. So and this isn't reflected in the policy, it'll be reflected in the AR, is that we are going to require staff who want to use generative AI to do an online course that teaches them about how to check for data privacy compliance, what are the best practices for using generative AI in the classroom, what should you avoid. So that course that we're going to have them complete also gives us back the information that they were trained, and it helps us track, were staff members trained before they're using it with students. And again, most of this comes back to, we just want to do everything we can to make sure that student privacy, student data is protected at all costs. So those were sort of just those two changes that we made. And it is super important to understand that this policy is specific to generative AI.
Mhm.
So ChatGPT, Gemini, things
That's-
like that. It is not the AI that's built into software and,
Correct.
websites and tracking and
Yep.
that type of AI is
Mhm.
being used whether we like it or not. We're talking specifically about using ChatGPT or those types of tools with kids
I understand what you're
for an instructional
Mhm.
reason.
Mhm.
With all the safeguards that you have to put in place for this, is it really beneficial to use it? Because.
So if I can speak to that,
Sure.
employers are expecting our students, when they graduate, to know how to use generative AI to support their work. If the students leave us without having experience and knowledge in how to use these tools, they will be behind when they seek employment out in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's very much a reality of 2025. I think if we don't teach students how to use it in this safe space where we can monitor and we can teach them the appropriate use, just like we try to teach them the appropriate use of all technology while they're here, then I think they're better off than
They're gonna learn it themselves.
they're going to learn it themselves without the safeguards.
Okay.
And
We're gonna learn.
No,
and it's
that-
definitely the academic reasons to use this. I mean, definitely outweigh avoiding it. Because it is very much the reality of our kids is that they can,
Mhm.
a really important skill these days is to know how to write a good prompt into ChatGPT. So
I think it has its good points.
Yeah.
But doing some research on it myself, I found where it can lead somebody completely the wrong direction.
yeah, and
That's the whole idea.
yeah, and I think that's a teachable moment too, Chris, of, you can't just use these tools, take it verbatim, assume that it's all correct information. We need our students to think critically about what it's spitting out and think, is this logical? Is this fact driven? How do I fact check this? We just had a conversation with a teacher yesterday who was using AI with her students and she was using it to plan a lesson and it gave wrong information. And she's like, it was a good check for me to say, I have to read this. I have to think about this critically. Because the information could be wrong, just like anything on the internet could be wrong and is wrong sometimes.
If I may, Chris?
Yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Okay, when you buy new curriculum software,
Mhm.
okay, I am assuming that they have their own AI already built into it, so as the child is learning 2 + 2 and they get 4, then it goes to the next level, so it's already it's built into those softwares. But she's talking about, if I can use the word research.
Yeah, yep.
That's, and I'll be honest with you, I miss being on the curriculum committee, like you cannot believe, I love that team, maybe next year. Something I've been dying to talk about, no, sorry, not dying, that's wrong word. I've been waiting for this for so long because someday in the future, I would love it if the curriculum committee, when you're ready, to talk about doing a CTC class on this. Because there was a gentleman, I just happened to catch the podcast yesterday. Please don't ask me his name, but he's from somewhere up here with his intelligence level and research. He's found that employers, no, I'm just saying what he said, this isn't my opinion, that employers are looking more towards people that have the ability to look at podcasts.
Mhm.
And they're actually training their new employees with podcasts versus actually delving into research papers or already, going, with the exception, of course, doctors or things
Mhm.
like that, but podcasts. And he said his employees that know how to build podcasts, who know how to do AI, and that just segues right off of what Dr. Redmond said. And of course, you know that.
Mhm.
So anyways, CTC class for this. Oh, I would just someday in the future.
Yeah, I think the next few years will be exciting in this realm. I think
Mm.
it's a good opportunity to think about what opportunities do we give to kids to engage in AI here
Mhm.
so that they are better prepared for their future. So I definitely think, we're always open to thinking about curriculum and programs and how we continue to stay up to date and
Sure.
relevant for our
Mhm.
kids, because it's about, the relevancy for our kids.
And I hope, and you folks know, this is your thing, but I hope that training for the teachers isn't gonna be this cumbersome.
It's not.
Thank you, 'cause
I mean,
they're
it's
already-
really a short, and it's really about privacy, which
classics.
isn't new, right? Privacy laws don't change whether we're talking
Great.
about AI
So-
or talking about any other technology
So we
tool.
agreed to move this and then the first read. then.
I've been waiting for this.
I'm okay. I'm good with that.
you
We
know?
don't need to
Good job.
move the student discipline into first read because that's already done. We were just
Yeah, that's
asking a
correct. Yeah,
question
that's-
on
they're
that.
right. Same thing with the procurement code. We don't have a change.
So Christine, let's move number 3, policy 815.1 to first read, please. Let's go to policy number 4, policy 816, district social media.
So, some background on this, 815.1 used to be our district social media policy.
Right.
Mhm.
In
And
order
we
to make
moved it.
room for the 815.1 social media, AI, we had to take 815.1 district social media and get rid of that policy. That had to go through the whole
Right.
mechanism. And now we're bringing it back in pretty much the same form and calling it
Different.
816 instead of 815.1.
Okay.
So, no significant changes in terms of what the policy looks like. It's just we're changing the number.
All right, we'll make that first read also.
Yeah, the only changes are the bold, right? Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
So then it'll technically be.
there was not anything substantial there.
Great.
Okay, number 5, the new policy idea. I had brought some ideas to Dr. Redmond and he assures me that things are already in place, so I'll let you.
Yeah, so you've brought up before that there was a fraud incident that was a little bit worrying, whereby a scammer was able to divert a significant chunk of district funds to an account that they shouldn't have been able to. And through that process, by looking at how it was done, we made some significant adjustments to how we allow our vendors to make changes so that we believe that that avenue is closed off for scammers to be able to siphon money away from the school district.
Okay. And some of them safeguards I had talked to you about were already
Yeah,
getting
things
put
that
in.
we've already put in place.
Okay,
Yeah. May I add something to that?
sure.
Chair, Chris? I will say this, moving forward. It's long overdue that rural America isn't being hit more dramatically by professionals and non-professionals. And I don't want to talk about the incident, but I will say this. Just like when you're talking about your curriculum, Megan, I mean, this is part of today's reality. It's gonna happen every day. whether we like it or not. Someone trying to, for whatever reason, to access our things, and we know that. We know that. So what I'm trying to get at is if you ever feel that our security system, you know, anything, please let the whole board know as soon as possible so we can discuss it at an appropriate meeting, because to me, security and anything like that is a top priority. So thank you.
Okay, anybody else have anything for the committee?
I just have a question. Where did we land on? I can't remember
Where we land on, can't remember.
yes, it just,
We confirmed.
I'm
that we can't
fleeting my
remember.
I can't remember.
the tear gas we put it in the policy. Remember, we updated it. I
Yeah.
can't remember because they were asking me about purchasing
Tear
it
gas? I don't
to keep in
remember
their
this.
cars. Yeah, we had it.
We approved it for them to have in their vehicles.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was.
That's
I
what
just
it
wanted to
was.
make sure because they were asking to get it for the vehicle.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't want to, I told them
they-
they can't carry it on their
They
bodies.
don't want to carry it on their body because it could be taken from them or
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah,
If once you squirt it, it can infest the entire school really
And the air
through the air
systems.
systems and everything else. So we only approved it to
For
be
the
carried
vehicles.
in a vehicle.
yeah. Scott was just asking so he could look to get that ordered. for him,
Okay.
So,
Is that, I mean, I don't know a lot about tear gas. I'm just sort of curious just to learn. Is this something
You should go through the training on it.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
My
we
spare
could try
time.
it.
No, seriously, when, for school districts, when does tear gas,
It's crowd control.
Crowd control.
Crowd
It's like a-
control
Like if there was a big event.
at an
those
event or
events.
something
Yeah,
like that. That's what
Okay.
it would be used for.
okay,
That's it.
okay.
Yeah, because it can affect so many people so quick.
Yeah.
You don't want to use it
It's
in
a
a
last,
building.
Last
it's a
resort.
last
Last
resort.
Last
And
resort.
it's just essentially to get people to disperse quickly.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
that's it.
Okay. All right.
Anybody have anything else?
No, I think this was a great meeting. I'm so happy about the AI. I'm so happy. And then please keep us updated as things evolve. Okay, I appreciate it. And there anything else we need to change?
I'm gonna say we're adjourned.
Beautiful.
At
Thank you.
Work with
10:40.
Thank you.